What is up, geeks and geekettes? That is awesome. Welcome back to the Countdown City Geekcast. My name is Steady, and this is going to be our Ghost Heads Roundtable discussion, a Ghostbusters Afterlife spoiler talk. And joining me on the show are some of the biggest Ghostbuster fans that I've met in my lifetime, and I'm not exaggerating because some of them have their own ectos. Some of them travel around doing events and all that. So we're going to meet them right now. First, we got Matthew Barker.
Hey, how are you?
Fantastic, bro. Thanks for making it.
Thank
From
you.
the
Appreciate it.
Ghostbusters of San Antonio, we got Rob.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And from what's the official term? Ghostbusters of Austin?
Ghostbusters ATX.
Ghostbusters ATX. It's Eugene Stevens.
Hey, what's going on?
Gentlemen, how about we do this? I would actually really like a solid introduction into your Ghostbusters fandom. If you ask me, it started from the day I was born. I don't know what day it was, but I was born in 84, and sometime between my birth and 89, I had like the entire toy line and I watched the cartoons religiously. So I don't know what day it was, but that's how I was born into the world of Ghostbusters. Matt, why don't you tell us about what did it for you? Was it the movies? Was it the cartoon that you started out with? What really resonated with you? What turned you into an official ghost head?
For me, I grew up in a very interesting age to be a Ghostbuster fan because I was born in 1990. So by the time that I could watch the movie, it's 95, 96, and one and two are out. So I didn't have a break in between those. My parents had the VHSs, so I watched them front to back like it was one movie. I never thought of it any different than that. I
Wow.
also never thought of it as a comedy. It was the realest movie in the world to me. Everything was real. It's hilarious.
Documentary. That's what it was to. It's a documentary.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was as real as it gets, and it started off for me there. I never got into cartoons that much because I loved the movie so much. I wanted it to look the same. I guess I'm picky like that, but everything Ghostbusters now is all me.
Fantastic, fantastic. Rob, you and I have known each other for a little bit of time now, and you are pretty much one of the head honchos with the Ghostbusters of San Antonio organization. Tell us about how you got started with the love of Ghostbusters. What kind of did it for you?
Well, I remember going to see the first movie when I was a kid, and it scared me, and I kind of loved it since then. We had the killer packs and the traps and everything else to play with. The firehouse, all that kind of stuff. Um, Growing up, I was more of a GI Joe fan, though. To be honest with you, I went that way. I didn't really get back into Ghostbusters until later in life, when I decided to. I think the 30th anniversary was coming around, and I was like, I'd really like to build a proton pack. I always liked Ghostbusters. It was always a movie I'd have on every once in a while and watch. And when I started building that pack, that's what really brought me back into. I really like this movie. I don't why I'm not watching this movie more, because I'd have it on and building apart and putting the part together. I mean, Eugene knows, and anybody that's building a pack knows it's not an overnight thing when you're building a pack. And when you're done, you're not really ever done because there's always upgrades that you're going to do or things that you see on someone else's pack. They're like, oh, yeah, I like that. I'm going to steal that idea. And or something.
Oh man, yeah,
But
I believe it.
I got my wife, told her I wanted to build it, and she said, "Well, let's make it a family affair." And then we made it family and friends affair, and everybody dressed up from the gatekeeper to the keymaster to all my boys dressed up with killer packs, everything, and that pulled me in. And what really also got me into it is that I got stuck on some parts on the pack, and I need some help, so I started looking online. I was already on GB Fans, and I saw there was a local group. And I said, well, they have packs. And I can actually go see one and touch it and not just look at these pictures online. So I ran over there. I met them. They were doing a mall event, and that's when I met Mike and Brian and Laura, who were the three starters of Ghostbusters San Antonio. And I just started getting with them, and from then on, I was with them all the time. It was like every little event, I'm like tagging along. What do you want to do now? What are we going to go do now? And it's just a movie, and then my wife was okay with it. I mean, we bought a white Ford Flex to turn into an Ecto. I
That's
mean,
the
come
big
on.
scheme here, Rob. The wife was okay with it.
Yes. To an well, there's always that extent, because she was telling me this weekend, okay, Ghostbusters movie already came and gone. Kind of time to calm down a little bit. And
Few more weeks. Few more weeks, and then we can calm down, Rob. Awesome, man.
That's all I got.
No, it's awesome. And then, yeah, just the last thing you said, Ford Flex, that you transformed into your own unique Ecto One, and it looks great. I saw it kind of in my neighborhood the other night, and I drove by. I was like, "Hey, it's Rob. He's over there." And it looked great. It looks great at night, just under the street lights, and it's fantastic. So I'm like, yeah, it's great.
You know,
Weird how I don't see that car anytime while I'm driving, but after we meet and we've done a couple events now, first thing I spot is that Ecto One on the corner of a street at a light. So yeah, pretty awesome.
a Florida group did it years back, and that was kind of the thing. I was like, that looks pretty cool. And my wife was kind of already talking about one, and I was like, we can get a Ford Flex as long as it's in white.
There you go.
She didn't know what my plans were, but and she's like, okay. And it was supposed to be her daily driver, and now it's my daily driver.
Nice.
But she likes driving it because, we'll sit there at a light and someone will take a picture or wave, and she'll flip the lights on. And
I bet you have fun in that thing all the time, Rob. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Last, definitely not least, Eugene out of Colleen, and with the Ghostbusters ATX group. Tell us how this got started for you, man. What ignited you for Ghostbusters?
After hearing Rob talk, I actually mirror him in a lot of different ways. So I was born in '77. I remember seeing the first movie just because it scared the crap out of me and my younger brother. I've told this story multiple times. I'll tell it here again. Went and watched the movie. The terror dog scared the crap out of us. And my mom had the bright idea of leaving the light on in the closet overnight so we'd have more light. And I woke up in the middle of the night and there's this golden glow around the door. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's coming through the door. She's like, that was not one of my better parenting ideas. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Never had the role-playing things from the real Ghostbusters, like the pack and the trap and stuff. I did have a lot of the characters and everything, and I played with those a lot. What's funny is after I started building my first pack, I had completely forgot about this. When I was like, I don't know, 9, 10 or whatever, I went to my grandfather's shop and like built these very rudimentary proton packs for me and my brother and like a cousin to wear so we could run around and, it's like literally wood and string and like a couple nails. And anyway, so, and I had kind of forgotten all that stuff. And, I mean, I've always enjoyed Ghostbusters. Like, whenever it was on, I'd always kind of, gravitate and watch it. But I've always been more of a Star Wars and Transformers fan. And even to this day, I'm still a really big fan of those. But yeah, a little bit later on in life, this was probably 2015. I had my boys, and I've got twin 9-year-old boys, and I went through, I guess you'd say, a midlife crisis, but instead of buying a car or something like that, I was like, I'm going to lose a bunch of weight and make sure that I'm around. So I lost a ton of weight, and I was like, cosplay had always been kind of interesting to me. And I was like, I want to do a Ghostbuster costume. And I talked to my wife. I was like, some people spend $1,000, $2,000, but I think I can do it for $400. And she was okay with that. So I built a junk pack. And then lo and behold, oh my God, they're making a new Ghostbusters movie. And this was Answer the Call 2016.
Right.
Well, my sister-in-law, Lainey, had moved up here to teach. And she was like, I would love to join you on this. So I built her a pack as well. We actually did a local event at a movie theater here, her and I, to promote my website, epicallygeeky.com. and we were dressed up as Ghostbusters, and just the interaction with the people was just like so awesome. I have a video. One of my favorite things from doing any of this is Lainey. I've got video of it. Lainey is showing this little girl her proton pack, and when she fires it up, the look on her face, and she's telling her, yeah, "You can do this. Like, yes, you're a girl, but you can do this." Just was like, okay, I want to do more of this. So I'm actually on the planning committee for a local convention. They asked, "Hey, do y'all want to represent us at a con down in Austin?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll go down there." So we go down there, and we run into the Austin area Ghostbusters, and I had no clue about all of this. And I was like, they were like, "Well, do you want to join up?" I was like, "Heck yeah!" So we joined up, and it's kind of funny. The several months into it, like, I was still really active or whatever, and our founders stepped down and left it to me and two other guys.
Wow.
And the two other guys, one of them has moved, he's out of state now, and the other one just had some stuff come up, was never able to kind of really step up like he wanted to. So it kind of defaulted to me being the leader of the Austin group, and that's still the case. Over the last year or so, though, we have gotten some really good members, and we're actually looking at trying to rebuild and kind of reorganize and stuff like that. And I've got some really good people helping me now that
Yeah.
can hopefully take a bunch of the pressure off, because like literally I was like recruiting, setting up events, everything. In fact, Rob probably remembers the conversation I had with me and Brian. I was like, how do you run this exactly? Because this is a lot of work. And they're like, "Oh, I do part of this and he does part of this." And I was just like, "Oh, that would be helpful." But I'm really big into 3D printing. I do a lot of my own designs and stuff. And the reason why I got into it is because after building my first junk pack, I was like, if I had a 3D printer, I could do this so much easier. Like, I could make it so much more exact and everything else. And I've just
Absolutely.
kind of run with it. So, in fact, I've got it, they're behind me. I can't get them, but when the international trailer for Afterlife came out, and we get that scene at the very end where Podcast, has the ecto goggles and takes a picture, I was like, I think I can do this. So I found a Kodak camera that doesn't work like an old Kodak camera. It uses new technology. But anyway, and I designed ecto goggles that it would slide into, and you can actually take a picture, and it will print out the side like it does. Now, granted, it taktakes like 30 seconds to print out. It's not like instantaneous like in the movie,
All right.
but it's close enough.
It's
So yeah,
amazing.
like, even though I'm like literally this evening before I got called about doing this show, I was looking at my Jedi costume. I was like, I need to do some upgrades on that. And I've got a couple other costumes, but I keep coming back to Ghostbusters. It's like, my to-do list, there are some other things I want to do. There's some other costumes and stuff I want to do, but like my roadmap just keeps filling up with Ghostbuster stuff. I love the movie. I love the lore. I love the equipment. I love building the props and stuff for it. So I've just kind of been, I don't know, I'd say for the last 4 or 5 years, I've just been all in. So,
And it feels like there's no end in sight for what the potential could be after Afterlife comes out. And I hope all you gentlemen feel the same way. So this is gonna be our time now to sort of discuss Afterlife. Um, our followers have already heard me gush about this movie for like hours on end. I've done a few of these videos now. First one I did with Brian, who um, is amazing. We had a great discussion after we saw the movie for the first time. We were sitting in the same theater, a few rows from each other. And so I want to hear from you guys. Sort of, what does this movie sort of mean to you? How do you feel this, maybe reignites the franchise? Was this the movie you expected it to be? Did it surpass your expectations? Kind of talk about that a little bit. And Matt, let's start with you, man.
For me, I think it was wrapped with a tight enough bow for me to send off those expectations that I had, and then prepared me for excitement moving forward. I wouldn't say that I'm in love with the movie. I certainly didn't hate it. I just think that it served its purpose and it's giving us a lot of material to work on and move forward, and even pre-show some things that we were talking about, ways of advancing technology slightly, different ideas and ways to use that. I loved the way they handled Egon was great. I really didn't want to hear him talk, so I'm
Yep.
glad they just left it, because I think artists should be able to sign off on their work once you've passed away. We get into the CGI thing, but they did a great job with. Hot take though, did not love Ray and Peter. I didn't like their lines. I didn't like the way that they really delivered them. I thought they kind of teed it up too much for the jokes from the old movies. But it was good to see them all together.
You know what's funny is a lot of that stuff, as you might have already expected, was just them riffing off one another. A lot of that stuff, especially, I don't know if you liked it or not, but Eugene, I think you said it earlier. The one, two, sorry, blaster on
Count to
three,
three, go on two.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
go on two, 1, 2, blast. Um, totally made up, Bill.
Yeah.
Totally made it up on the spot, not in the script, not even close. Just did it, and it's like a magical thing, I think, because I've never heard that before. I've never heard anything like that before. Maybe there's been certain moments where like it's sort of hinted at, like go early, but just to do it in that way, hysterical, man. Um, Rob, what about you, man? You and I haven't had any real big discussions on the movie yet, so I'm curious about what you thought about the movie.
Well, I've talked to Matt a little bit about it, and I talked to Eugene actually just the other night about it. I can see where Matt's coming with, because the first, I've seen it 3 times now, and when I first saw him on, I was kind of like, I didn't really care for them, but then I also wanted more from them when the OG Ghostbusters come on film. So I think that kind of jaded my view on them too. It was kind of weird. Overall, I love the movie. I think it has a really slow beginning, but that's just how our director is at this time.
Sure.
It's a slow beginning, but there's parts of like the music what keeps me going. Like I love that beginning song that's it's not even popping in my head today, but 369 or whatever how that song goes.
Yeah.
Don't get me singing to you. Um, but and there's characters I think we could have left on the table. I really feel like there's scenes really missing from this. We all know from the trailers there were scenes that were cut out. We knew that were coming, but
Sure.
then also my feelings are at first was like when I first I was like, do we need Trevor? Really? I mean, all he was is a wheel man. But I mean, we need a wheel man. We need someone to drive that go. And so we restarted. So he kind of served a purpose. And then did we really need Lucky? And I felt like because yeah, she's in it, but she shoots her proton packs, turns into a dog, and what else does she give us? She's the love interest for Trevor. And I think some discussions I had with some other Ghostbuster fans, like I think even with Eugene, and then we're talking about, well, someone has to get Trevor to the mountain, and that's who brought him to the mountain. So they knew. So it's kind of the catalyst of her character.
Yeah, whether she was interested romantically or not, he was going to follow her because he was interested, and
yes.
she drew him out there. Yeah.
Yes, and that's the only that's how he gets out there. So then he's like, "I've been here before" on that last scene, and I really like the equipment.
Yes.
Even though with the upgrades, none of them were too radical or too much that I felt like they were out of place. Like I like the ecto goggles with a camera. I like that Eugene made a working pair, and you could see what they actually would look like because he was putting pictures today on his website. On Facebook of like the pictures you have of McKenna Grace and stuff like that, and I was like, so jealous. But overall, I thought it was a really good movie. I really like. Yes, McKenna Grace.
Hey. It's awesome.
If you're watching the video version.
the I like that he didn't talk at the end. I'm glad
Yes.
they didn't get a voice. I mean, who have they got the voice? They'd have probably got maybe. I hope the real Ghostbuster actor that played him the voicing if they would have done it. Because then us as kids who watched real Ghostbusters and watched
Yeah.
Extreme Ghostbusters, that could have clicked in our heads for the voice. Maybe. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of if they were going to do it. But with technology, we just didn't need it. And who didn't
Absolutely.
who didn't like the end credits? If you pay for the post credits on that movie, and you get to kind of
So
have
many
this feel of the goosebumps and what could happen next. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say everything. Eugene's next. I know he's got feelings too, so he's got some. So I'll let him go ahead.
Definitely. I was just gonna say, you brought up technology, and I think that in our own communities, it's something that's kind of brought up a lot. Like, we wanted to see really cool stuff. It took well into our discussion with my team to understand that Egon's not in his best situation, right? He's got no money. He's pretty much using any tools he could find. He's not in a very he's not in an area where he can get his hands on a lot of probably materials, components. I mean, Somerville, Oklahoma. So it's really kind of like the Tony Stark and the cave thing, like doing as much as you can with what you got. And so I love like the little enhancements to everything, even the PKE meter. Look,
Mm-hmm.
correct me if I'm wrong. These antennae or the antennas on the side never kind of clicked at the top and
No.
had that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So doing it, I think it happened twice in the movie when there was like imminent danger, when there was about to be, a big energy dispersion from whatever entity was nearby. I'm like, even that little enhancement, I'm like, super dope. I love it. Sometimes in movies, characters can take leaps with technology, and you're like, that's cool, but man, it's too big of a leap. I like little steps every now and then. You kind
Mm-hmm.
of see where the progression is. So yeah, totally dope. And then Lucky, I think the only thing she really helped us, the audience, with is understanding the history of Somerville. I don't know if Gary Gruber or something.
Gruberson, yeah.
Gruberson. I don't know if he was a longtime Somervillian,
No,
Somerite.
I think he was a transplant.
Right. It sounded like he had just been there for a short time, so he probably doesn't know the history of the town. But Lucky gave us the sort of data dump that this whole town was built from the ground up by Ivo Shandor. So, that kind of helps a little bit in that regard. I It helps build that lore a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it long time ago when we found out Evo might have a hand in this a little bit, that he had close to 1,000 followers before he died. You think all those people just like said, "Oh, well, he's gone. I guess we're all done." No, there's gonna be like some
He'll be
followers
in
that kind of,
Somerville.
yeah, exactly. So wanted to see. It was cool to kind of see that aspect of it. I would have hoped that they would have done a little bit more. I was kind of crossing my fingers that some of these town folks were going to be like a little bit evil. Like you're going to see this cult come out of the woodwork and go to the mountain and start
in
like
the
praising
in the
Gozer. I'm like,
Oh,
dude,
that'd be cool.
that'd have been dope. I'm like, yeah, why not? They have like Gozer symbols all over the town. There's like one above the uh either the police station or the town UPS store or something. There's like Gozer symbols everywhere. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Eugene, sorry to hold you up, man.
Oh no.
Your thoughts about the movie?
Real quick, yeah, I know that was one of the prevailing, whatever, theories that we were going to see Gozer worshippers or whatever. That might be something interesting to, retouch on or something. So I have to say, I loved this movie, but I'm also a little, I'm definitely colored on this. There's kind of two big things. One of them is, my father passed away last year, and so the whole seeing your father come back dynamic thing kind of really hit here.
Oh, man.
So that was part of it. The other thing is, and Rob's the one that actually got me the initial invite. I got to go watch this movie for the first time at the New York premiere. I got to go to a premiere party that was thrown by the YHS podcast, and I met Jason Reitman and got his autograph. And then the next day, I was on the Today Show. Like literally, I was right behind Al Roker, and like apparently he's a big fan. I went on a tour of New York with the New York Ghostbusters, and what's really interesting is they're group members. Some of them have gotten their New York City tourist licenses, so they're licensed tour guides for New York City, and so they were going around showing us, the different locations or whatever. And then when I got to the premiere, it was running about 45 minutes late. I didn't get into the super duper secret, like red carpet part. But right before we all sat down in the movie theater, it's all full of ghost heads, and Jason Reitman runs down to the front real quick and gives this like 2.5 minute, 3 minute speech, and I recorded it and I posted it like on YouTube or not YouTube, but like Facebook, different places or whatever. And I'm so glad I did that because he gets down there and he literally says, "I made this movie for us. This is for the people who grew up with Ghostbusters. This is for everyone who had the toys and played with them, and this is for us." And then he runs off and we, watch the movie or whatever. And then I'm walking out and literally McKenna Grace is about to go down an escalator. And I was like, "Can I get a picture?" And, when I pulled down the goggles and took the picture, she's like, "Oh my God, are those work? I can't wait to tell Logan." And I was just like, well, that's freaking awesome. So yes, I'm a little colored by it. That being said, when I first watched it, I was trying to, I really don't know how I was taking in the movie because the whole time I kept trying to go, I'm in New York City at the premiere watching this with a bunch of other people. I've got a bottle of Ecto Cooler in my hand. Like it was so surreal. So the second time I watched it, before all that ever happened, I had already bought a ticket for a Friday morning and I went and watched it and I was by myself. And then that's when it really hit. I'm like the other guys. I wasn't really sure about the standoff at the end there.
Ooh.
And then to me, it just clicked. To me, it was like, oh no, this is how it should have gone down. Like, because in the other two movies, Venkman is doing nothing but talking to them constantly. Like, he's talking to Gozer, he's talking to Vigo, and it's just like, yeah, of course he's going to sit there and just blabber on and on and on. I'm like, when there were ideas floated that we were going to see, Egon's going to be a ghost and he's going to manipulate, stuff in the room or whatever. And so when we watch the very beginning of this movie and we don't see, as I'm saying full frontal, is we're not seeing like his face. I was like, okay, that was well done. And
so
then,
good.
Yes,
Yeah.
very well done. And then when we see him manipulating stuff, I'm like, I didn't know how that was going to work, but I thought that was done really well. Like it wasn't overly done. It wasn't like overly sappy or whatever. There were some very humorous parts, especially like when she's like, how did you know how to do all this? And it certainly turns and, shows all of his,
I get it.
diplomas and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at the very end, I kept thinking the whole time during this movie, I was like, well, I don't want to see him. Like they've done a good job. I don't want to see him. And then when we do, I just thought, well, this was well done. Like, this is how it should have been done. And we've kind of mentioned this a little bit here and there. This movie is being, and more critics are taking up this mantle, are comparing this to the Star Wars sequel movies. In particular, The Force Awakens. Okay, first off, I like all three of those movies for different reasons. But The Force Awakens did what it should have. It came on, it showed us, our original cast that we love dearly, and it set it up for our new cast to start taking things forward. Now we can debate whether or not how well that happened in the other two movies, but that being said, this did it very well. And the fact that he didn't speak, I think, is what there's a lot of debate as well about that as to whether or not is that something that we just can't get over that uncanny valley yet. Like seeing him physically there and like nodding and stuff all looked fantastic. But I'm glad he didn't speak because I don't know, it might have broken that spell. And I keep thinking back to what was it? Rogue One. Like Tarkin, if I really wished we would have gotten him like standing, because he did it a lot in the original movies, standing there looking out a window and maybe just getting his reflection. I think that would have gone so much better than the directly looking into the camera and it's just like, this is not right. Like something's wrong here. You know, that your brain's not quite able to handle it. So I think the way that they handled Egon was fantastic.
Mhm.
I'm like you. I like the little upgrades here and there. Speaking of the PKE meter, a video was released. I think it was today, showing the mock up, the model of how it works. And when the arms go up, when they finally do that flip up, there's part of it like the hinge actually ejects out further to allow them to do that. And I'm sure everyone in the prop building community is just like writing down, taking notes, doing multiple screenshots. Like, all right, now how do we figure out how to do that? So, because that little cheap one that they have, the little cheap Hasbro one they have, is fine, but it doesn't quite look correct. And I'm like, no, I'd want something that looks more like it used to, where they come out, it's kind of invisible, and then all of a sudden they go up. But we'll see. Of course, there's apparently actually was a taser as well. Like he's showing it to Jason Reitman, and it's literally like sparking on it. And I was like, I don't know if I need that. So that might be bad at a con.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, there's a behind the scenes clip. It might have been shared by Eric Spielberg, who I think was the cinematographer. I can't remember for sure. But behind the scenes, they're actually showing that PKE meter work. There's an actual charge going between those two antenna. Like, I don't know how they're doing it. It doesn't look like it's a special effect. Like they're holding it off screen on the set. Like be sending that charge through, making it spark. And I'm like, dude, that's freaking dope.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this stuff is practical. You have to give them the credit for going above and beyond, treating this like an old style movie, building the farmhouse on two different sets. One in Canada, out in the plains, where those out in the wheat fields and all that stuff, and then they built one actually in a sound studio.
Well, that's the
And
same. It's the same house.
well, they built two of them.
I thought they tore it down, and because they were talking to when they were talking to the guy who did the
I think
set
it's still
pieces, he says, "Yeah, we're gonna take all this and box everything up and take it, and we have to take pictures because we put exactly where it goes."
You're right. I took you're right. I took that to mean just the like all the stuff, all the crap, all the boxes, the books, the candles, the components, all the gizmos that are on the table. I took it as they just took everything from the inside and kind of like
Oh,
shipped it off.
I
And all that.
thought they took the.
Did you guys have a kind of a favorite Easter egg? I didn't notice this until I saw another behind the scenes video with Adam Savage, that not only was the toaster from Ghostbusters 2 in the kitchen, but also the box it came in is actually sitting on a shelf, I think above the refrigerator or something like that. So I'm just like, dude, I love it. I love that kind of thing. You guys have like a favorite Easter egg and something like that?
Go on, Rob. You know you're dying to say it.
Uh-oh.
What? But I tell you, no, I don't know if you know. I was talking to Eugene, and Eugene told me about the Gigameter being in the basement. And now I want to go see the movie so I can see the Gigameter. That's really.
I didn't
I
see
thought
it.
you were going to bring up the fact that on my show the other night you specifically said, "Well, technically it's the same toaster, but
Well, it is
it's
not.
not."
Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's back up a little bit about this.
Sorry, I let him loose.
We can go to that fact too. Okay, so a couple years ago, I found the toaster that is in the movie. It's actually has their symbol on the side of it, the one they have in the movie, and it came in a box, everything. And actually, Brian and Laura drove down like 3 hours away and picked it up because I only found it for like $10 or something. So they took like a Saturday, drove, pick it up, it was brand new in the box, and brought it back. So I was looking at that toaster and watched the movie on 2. If you watch the movie on 2, the sides of it doesn't have the emblem. So the one in Ghostbusters Afterlife has the emblem, so it's the wrong toaster they put in.
Ooh. I wonder if Jason knew that. Interesting.
So
Yeah, but it could have been too. They had to like change it to make it jump or do whatever. So
yeah, Yeah, I mean, if you want, because I had that argument. The only reason why I know this because I had that argument with Brian because I was like, you can go get that toaster. It's exact same toaster, but it has that emblem, and there's no way to take it off because it's
Yeah.
engraved
Oh
in the
wow.
side.
Okay.
So, but then later I found the real toaster, so I just haven't worked on it yet.
Do you guys have thoughts about the movie? Not in
Get
the
an
sense
Easter
that say what?
egg? I don't get an Easter
Oh yeah, go for it. You got one?
egg. I do. I
Shoot.
do. So if you guys remember in one, when Dean Yeager comes in and he's kicking them out of there, there's a guy with headphones on and he's wheeling out this orange
Mm-hmm.
thing, and it just to see it back in Egon's lab, it was so funny to me because that's how
I didn't notice it.
sarcastic and like, oh, it's in there, and it's just how vengeful they are, and like how they're kind of assholes. And so, if he was going to have anything back in his lab, it's going to be the first thing that he got
They
taken
would,
away from.
well,
My
the story of that for a long time, there was this rumor going around that, and it doesn't look like him, and it's not him. That he has headphones and a hat on. You can't really tell, but you can see his face clearly. That it's Belushi's brother is the
Oh,
one in the movie because that was
so it's
supposed to be
Jim.
a thing to
John.
Belushi because he's slime. Belushi was Slimer and he died, and this
yeah.
was kind of a credit to have his brother in the movie.
Did not hear that before. It's crazy.
But I think that was debunked. But that was for a while. People were throwing that out there.
Yeah, I remember hearing that one. I'll be honest, like there wasn't anything in particular. I just liked all the little random things, and that a lot of the reviewers have poo pooed this movie because it there's too many callbacks. There's too much stuff, and I'm just number one. Like I said, Jason Reitman specifically said this movie was made for us, the fans.
Yeah.
So y'all can deal with it whatever you want. But like just how a lot of the stuff was not super obtrusive. It's not like it slammed the movie to on its brakes. Like when she pulls out the crackle, you know
Lunchbox.
wrapper. It's like, okay, well, yeah, it's trash that he had in his pocket. If you didn't know that was a callback, it was just like, okay, well, he had trash. Oh, and then she got to the sentimental thing being his glasses. But to us, it's like, oh, sweet,
It's a scratch bar.
Yeah, it's a crack bar. And then just like the Twinkie in the glove compartment or whatever. Once again, it's like that was always one of the funny things that no one really called out. I mean, as fans, we look at it or whatever, but it was like that was one of Egon's things was he was always snacking on stuff. So to have those little things here and there, but like I said, it didn't ever. It's not like it caused the movie or you're like, oh, okay, well that was kind of ham-fisted in there. It was just like no, it was just sprinkled in there, and I love how it never like just kind of was like boom, stop the movie. Let's take pay attention to this. It's those little things that we as fans pick up that other people were just like, okay, well that was a choice. So
yeah, like you see a box of Cheez-Its on his desk.
Yeah,
and it's like he ate Cheez-Its and one, and it's like you said, he's always snacking on stuff.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. I mean, it's kind of hard with our fandom that when you see people jumping on movies and dogging them down, even it's like anything we do, it's a push forward. This movie was a push forward. It's made the money back that it spent on it. Sony's going to look at it as a win, and they've always wanted to do something with Ghost Court. They don't have any other property that's just theirs. Really, they could really, we have toys, everything else for this movie. I mean, I think that we have to take everything, and just build from it. And I think this is a good movie to build from. They gave us a lot of good new things to work with, new characters. They closed out the old Ghostbusters kind of, and they also gave us a future for the old Ghostbusters on what they're going to. And I'm very excited to see what happens next.
Absolutely. I kind of remembered one. So the book stacking is kind of an obvious one, right? Everybody saw like, oh, book stacking. That's from the first one, the '84 film. It actually took me the second time to think about it a little bit more, talking about it with friends. So that book stack isn't in the opening scene
Mm-mm.
in the farmhouse. So
No
literally,
shit.
literally, Egon's spirit is the one stacking those books. And then you
Mhm.
think about it, is why would he stack books for his family? They have no idea what this reference is. And then you have to just think about it a little bit further, like, oh, he's not doing it for them. He's doing it because one day Pete Venkman or Ray Stantz are going to walk in and they're going to see that stack of books and it's going to put a huge ass smile on their face. And it's just going to be a huge reminder that no normal person would ever stack books like this.
Yes.
And I'm like, it's it's the home of Egon Spengler. Eugene, I've heard similar things from both people I know and a few articles that I've read that like there's so many references. It's kind of jarring to a few folks. And just to that I say it's the home of Egon Spangler. Like, if you come into my house, are you not going to see my nostalgic self or the nicks and the gizmos that I grew up with? Like, are you not going to see references to comic book characters? Are you not going to see references to Power Rangers, to random things? You're going to get a whole plethora of items from previous films because it's the home of Egon Spangler. I think if you don't see anything, that's the crime that would have been committed. It's just like, shouldn't we see more things? Because Egon pretty much, I mean, he's probably a hoarder of stuff, I would imagine, being sort of the introvert that he was. So, yeah, I don't know where those I don't know why people feel that's a big criticism. I, like you, think that these are things to be expected, and then there's also things that some friends of mine who aren't as big fans would point out, saying, "Oh, we watched the '84 film in the jail scene, talking about the selenium core girders in the jail scene from the '84 film. It's a huge tie back to this one." And so that's like another just thread to tie back to the '84 film. And it's not meant to, like you said, be intrusive or to have any sort of plot holes in the story or anything. It's just another layer to the entire deal. And I appreciate it. And I hope more people actually do too later on when they think about it. Mm. I was curious to see if you gentlemen had any questions about things that you were curious that you might have need more clarification on. I'll throw one out there for you guys, especially because it looks like we all do. I'm sure we do. Even us who've grown up with this franchise for probably decades, we still have questions. My first question, and I'm just gonna see if we can kind of come to a similar understanding. Um, is it Zool? Is it Vince Clortho? Or are Sentinels a completely different spirit? Who murdered Egon? Anyone have a theory on that?
I would say it would definitely be Zool. Vince Clortho was sort of the yin to the yang of Zool. Zool was very aggressive, and even back to one, you see Louis Tully and how he's interacting with people, and how Dana Barrett is interacting with people. One is much more aggressive, and so I'd say if anybody killed anyone, it would probably be Zool.
All right. Rob, Eugene, questions on that?
See,
The reason
I assumed because of whenever they opened the trap that was Vince, just because it saw it saw Gruberson and attached himself to him.
that makes
But that's not
sense.
necessarily the case. You actually make a really good point that Zool was definitely more put together than Vince. Vince is definitely a goofy bastard.
Right.
So that kind of makes sense, and there's no reason why it would have had to be. I think that was just a false assumption on my part. So I would say that's a decent theory.
And I'll kind of tell you guys why I bring it up is because these terror dogs are doing things we've not seen them do before. The
Mhm.
smoke entrances, I call it the edge entrance. If you guys are pro wrestling fans, it's something we're not privy to in past films. Which again, it's all about not taking leaps; it's about taking steps. So I like that little change there. And then sort of the complete invisibility that they had, not that it's a bad thing, but again, it's just something that we really haven't seen. These demons are not one to kind of hide. So the thing in the opening scene, again, opening scene is perfect. Everything is well thought out, but something chasing Egon in this utility truck. He can't see it, but it clearly walks on two hind legs, something we've not seen Vince or Zool do before.
Mhm.
We all know the toy line kind of unveiled these terror dog sentinels and so I just want to know for like again, I don't it's not breaking the movie here, but are sentinels different from Zool or Vince, or is this just another form they can take?
I
They
was
can
thinking
change.
that it was kind of patching up a hole in the first movie, and that's
Hmm.
why don't we see the terror dog at the restaurant when it's attacking Lewis? You can't
Yeah.
see it from the inside of the restaurant. You can't,
Mhm.
which it was seemed weird watching the first one because they didn't care about hiding. It ran through the streets of New York, but
Sure.
everyone always asks why can't you see the terror dog from the restaurant? Why did the patrons?
That's
I've
interesting.
always
And
I
wondered
never
that
thought about
myself, to be honest with you.
I thought that may have just been tying that up.
I've never wondered about that. I've always just thought like, man, these people suck. They won't go out there and help Lewis.
Well, I mean, they're clearly watching what's happening, but the fact that they're just like, all
I
right,
think they
dude, like
know.
fell up
Yeah.
against the window and slid down. Time to go back to dinner. Like,
Mhm.
if you had seen that out there, you would have been like, whoa, what's going on? Yeah.
Sure.
It's a bear. Yeah, like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a
Um,
bear in the gas apartment.
in the beginning, in the beginning of the movie, I mean, Phoebe holds that statue,
Yeah.
and it's on two legs. I
Mm-hmm.
think it even, if I remember off the top of my head, it's holding a weapon like an axe or a spear or
Yeah,
something.
like a spear or something.
Yeah,
And they also have those two statues in this temple right
yeah.
next to the Zool, not Zool,
So
the Gozer sort of thing.
maybe because they're coming from another dimension, maybe there's other types besides terror dogs. Maybe they're sentinel beings more prevalent there. I don't know. I
Well,
think
there has to be more than those two, right? Because I also was wondering, like, in Ghostbusters One again, which this film is so closely tied to, how many arms come out for Dana in that
yeah,
chair? How
A lot.
many paw prints do you see on the door?
Yeah.
Um, it seems like they're able to do more than just walk on all fours.
I like that. I like the idea that this is either Vince is in the trap, Zool is free, and then I again, Matthew, I kind of you and I talked about like theories and stuff. Is Zool not allowed to take a host if Vince is not allowed to take a host? Because if Zool takes a host, that host can then destroy the great quad. Do you guys have a name for this? Quad proton pack trap that's holding the Armageddon well at bay every day or every few hours when it tries to come up. So Zool could definitely take a host and destroy that, which would release everything, but it never happens. So it makes you wonder: is there rules to this? Is
Yeah,
Zool
I
can
was
Zool
wondering that
only
too. And hopefully,
sure?
maybe Eugene or Rob can help because we've also never seen a half form of Gozer,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Oh
clearly taking
man,
that farm. So if one of them is inhabited, is Gozer just sort of in this half um, wave state, and that's why she couldn't get out of the trap? So I definitely have some questions around that for sure.
well, we
why?
saw one terror. I mean, one terror dog's in the trap. I
Right,
mean, and one,
Vince.
and, she's half formed walking through the field before she gets there, before they release the other terror dog.
So I think she's in half form because one person is inhabited,
Yes.
Right.
but it needs to possess another one for Gozer to be full power.
Well, remember they also have to couple first to fully form Gozer. So had one of them just been formed, had one of them just been possessed, that couldn't have happened. Thus, Gozer couldn't have been released. Once that happened, then Gozer was released, and then apparently, then taking one of them away just kind of like doesn't fully throw her back. It just rips her half essentially. So
Yeah.
at least that's the theory I would go with.
Gozer definitely needs to come out of this other dimension. Like, there's no way, there's no other way. You got to go through the big doors.
And what was her destroyer? In this
well, I guess you don't need. She can choose to give them options or not, and I think it was a good decision because then you would really have an argument for this is way too similar to the '84 film.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I think you would have had way more people raise some hell about seeing a destroyer. Yeah, and that's challenging too. What do you come up with? That's just going to challenge what we got in '84. 100-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I don't want to see you try and top that. I think you can't top that.
Which is
Or
why you go mini.
or
Did you guys think that Gozer and Sentinels, or the Terror Dogs, were oddly unaware of what was going on? For example, when she first comes out and Olivia Wilde is doing her Gozer thing, and it was an awesome scene. But the Ghostbuster car is parked right here. The kids are making
hear it.
Literally, Gozer is right there. And then somehow Podcast is able to slide a trap under him. I just thought for such a powerful being, they were oddly unaware.
She was really thrown off by that joke, though. I think
But by the way, that's such a fantastic scene. My boys just ate that up with a spoon. They just howled and thought that was hilarious.
She's really. I mean, that distraction is great. It's just I feel like I understand. You driving in with a V8 on a Cadillac, and you mean those terror dogs didn't hear it because that big rock was in front of it? So you have to like throw some. Okay, this is a movie. You get it. But some movie magic has to happen. I gotta displace that. But then, like, after they sucked the terror dog in the RTV,
they got away.
Why didn't the other terror dog attack?
Vince, because Vince is the idiot. We already talked about that.
My question was,
the moron.
Why didn't they take like 5 seconds more to pull the trap in and then take off instead of having the trap follow them? I was just like, because that's not the decision I would have made.
All the scenes where they had the car and the trap going at the same time were amazing. You're seeing this big old Cadillac and this little bitty RTV flying around it, every little curve. I loved, and I think so many people are going to start building an RTV.
Oh yeah, for sure,
absolutely. Right here.
He's already got a 3D printer ready to go.
Yeah. The question I've had, the question I had was, and I kind of got an answer, a little bit, maybe an answer, but maybe I can fill it in more. The other night when we were talking, so we did have the timetable as to when events were happening. That we got in the temple. Then of course he redid in his living room. But my question is if they mined all of the material out and then built the temple in New York in say 40 something, because that's when the mine was shut down. Why did Shandor decide to stay at the mouth of the mine entombed and wait for Gozer's return instead of going to the specific temple that they built in New York City to bring it back. And I think I can't remember if it was Rob or if it was some Bev maybe on our show. Said, well, there was the next date. It was 2012 was the next date, and maybe somehow he knew that in 85 or in 84 it wasn't going to work out. Like somehow or another he knew it wasn't going to work out. Of course, then I'm just like, well, why did you build the temple in the first place?
Well,
but anyway, that's
he doesn't die in 84. I thought.
No, he didn't die in 84. He, I'm assuming he put himself into whatever trance he did in 40 something.
Yeah, we're talking about Ivo, right? Evo, sorry.
Yeah, Evo Shandor, yeah.
I thought they talked about when he died in the first one. It just eludes me.
Maybe I need to go back and rewatch it.
Close to 1,000 followers when he died.
Yeah, they don't say how, but they do say that there was.
But they don't say when, do they?
No, but it makes sense with video game canon a little bit that maybe he was able to sort of astral project, out into the world a little bit, so that even if he was enshrined there, he could affect things in other locations. It might actually help keep video game canon.
There's a year. Something happened 100 years before the 84 film. So I don't know if that's when the building was built or that's when Evo actually died. But I remember 100 years being very specific. So in 1884 is either when he died or put himself in whatever form he needed to. He probably knew he wasn't going to make it, right? He probably knew that he can't last to any of these years that Gozer, the coming of Gozer might actually happen. So he figures out a way to put himself in this weirdo limbo situation. And I don't have a good answer for why he's in Oklahoma instead of New York. Other than if you wanted to explain it away, there are still followers out there that maybe had him in New York, and then when that didn't go as planned, um, took his body and whatever else he needed to Oklahoma. I think a better question is why build the New York condominium at all if you had everything you needed in Oklahoma? All you need is gatekeeper and keymaster. You got a temple. What is the thing? What was so important in New York? Why did it have to be in New York? Or are all these things just predestined and he has to go about it? Whatever book he's reading out of, he has to. Which they should.
I think what he needed was money. So he's in New York because he has this mine, and he's obviously designing and constructing buildings. 550s, probably wasn't the only one. It was probably other ones that he had built as well, even if they weren't tombs to Gozer. So he probably did it to get money because that's how you get power and influence, and then said followers, and then to kind of continue the operation. So he may have been in New York just as a developer.
Hey, Eugene, do you have your Tobin Spirit Guide?
I was actually looking here to see if there was anything like in the Ghostbusters wiki, but it doesn't specifically say. So
that's what I was looking at too.
Yeah.
If I'm not home, or I just grab the Tobin, and pull it out. So, and because it says like they started in 1920, and that's when they started worshiping for Gozer.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. 100 years from this movie, not the 84 film. Yeah. It's been 100 years since I guess he started all that stuff.
So, I mean, 2020 when the movie was supposed to be released would have been 100 years.
100 years.
But you also can tell. I mean, you can't really tell, but they had to go in and digitally change all that to 2022 or 2021. Yeah. Sorry,
2021. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I was like, did they? Okay, yeah, they like the second time I saw it, I was like, okay, yeah, it does say it won because I was like, well, surely it said 2020 whenever they first filmed this thing. So
I almost don't need that. Movies can take place in any point in time already. We have Marvel movies that take place 5 years in the future. So let's go ahead and just leave it as is. If there was any sort of situation where that would have had some importance to be 100 years exactly, after 1920, then I think that would have been just fine. But to each their own. If they want to do it, it's their decision. Do you guys have any other questions? I know everybody had their hands raised. Matt, what was your sort of question you had about the movie?
How did the Ghostbusters get there? The original three. How did they get there? The way they kind of popped in was just like, "Hey, flat top," but we got no sort of setup. I would have loved some scenes of Ray trying to convince Venkman that this is serious, and he actually help, and a little
Dude,
bit of that banter. So yeah, how did the Ghostbusters get there?
They drove the 1A. Come on, man.
Oh, you're going there, huh?
you know what? I was kind of hoping for it. I was kind of hoping to see the 1A, but I think my answer is just a lot less interesting. Um, Zeddemore is a business tycoon, so he's got 10 private jets. I don't
Yeah.
know
Obviously, it was
how.
private jet because you're not taking an unlicensed proton accelerator on a
That's right.
commercial airline. Like,
The TSA.
yes, just
Absolutely.
trying to get the prop through TSA would be insane. So, like Ernie Hudson's on is recorded as saying that he's like, I'm Winston Zeddemore. I have a prop, and these people look at me like, what is this? And he's like, have you never seen Ghostbusters?
But nothing looks more like a bomb than a proton. Like if you were to ask a kid to draw a bomb, it would look a lot like a proton.
But
Yeah,
just
there's a lot of wires hanging out on it. There's some red wires you need to snip, and yeah, you're right. So
just to be fair, Ernie Hudson is also on record saying that he doesn't remember holding a cud in that whole in Ghostbusters 2. So
really,
yeah, he's like, I don't remember ever holding that. Because like when I was building my cud, I was looking up like stuff for him, and he's like, yeah, they just gave me a prop that day, and I just held it and we walked around with it. He's like, I didn't remember what I was using. So, cud is a kitchen utensil device. It's in Ghostbusters 2. Ernie Hudson's using it in the scene where they go to check out the painting, and he's walking around with it.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the one that spins.
No, that's a Geiger-meter.
yeah, no, it's the one that has like the bent. It's like at a right angle, right?
We were at home.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny he doesn't remember even having it.
Okay, hold on, real quick. The gigameter is the circular one, right, with the small antennas.
Right.
Yes, like go in and out like this.
Yeah. So then the one I'm thinking of looked like looked like a flask on the end of
no,
of a head.
that is a 3D. That is a 360-degree camera, and I'm trying to remember what it's called off the top of my head. What do you do on that? Well, it's silver when you hold it with the pole in the hand, and it has this part on top. It kind of looks like a flask, like you said, right?
Yep.
You hold them. They're like $2,000. They're super expensive. You hold them, and it's funny because he just like shoves it in his belt and like walks around in it, and they don't care. They just hand it something. You hold it. You hold the button with your hand, and it spins 360, and it takes a 360 picture for you.
How interesting. To this day I never knew that did anything, but I'm just like, why is he spinning it? What could that possibly be doing? But yeah, there you go. All right. Good to know.
Did you find
This
it?
is what you're talking about, right, Rob?
That's a cud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a
Looks like a spatula that's got a 90-degree angle on it, and yeah.
Interesting.
And the
Okay.
body of it is a metal detector.
Yeah, and what Rob, the other one you're talking about, it's on a gimbal, right? It's
it's just on a post.
Yeah,
not a gimbal.
Yeah, it's a gimbal, like for cameras. It keeps them stabilized.
Yeah.
That was good. The picture that Eugene showed, I vaguely remember seeing that in the second one. But yeah,
it's really quick. They added so many little things in there that's like those are props that that are so far down on like my to-do list. It's insane. So
Did you guys see the guy doing the what was the traps in the jewelry store in 2? The 3D
Yes,
printed version?
oh
Um,
yes.
they
that
had
guy
those
did it.
up for auction a couple of years ago, and they didn't. I mean, I think they went for a couple $1,000s.
It's just such a good like Comic-Con booth
Oh
item.
yeah, that would be fantastic to have at the
You want
booth.
a Comic Con booth? Look at the German Ghostbusters.
Oh, don't even bring up the German Ghostbusters. Like
They
it's so
are
ridiculously
Their
over the
booth
top.
is like huge. One part you put a pack on, you Slimer's up there, you throw the trap out, you catch Slimer in the trap. They have
He actually throws
Vigo
strings.
where it's a they print it on a rubber screen Vigo, so then they have a head comes out, so it comes out the head comes out of the rubber, so it looks like he's moving his head back and forth.
Jeez.
And I mean,
Dude,
It's ridiculous.
yeah. That's
They-
that's that's the blueprint. That's the end game right there for everybody.
They-
Into the
Get that
yeah.
budget, man.
they're building a 3D. They're building a motorized mini puff.
what?
Of course they are.
Yes. On their website, they show there's a mini puff, and he's got his arm. He's missing his arms, and they're building the inside, and his arms are going to move. So,
It's
I'm
those German
done.
engineers.
Done.
They're just like, oh yeah, this is weekend project.
I'm moving back to Germany. Join the German group.
Oh man. That'd be awesome. I can't wait to see that. I vaguely remember seeing the video of that booth where yeah, they kind of set up like a shooting gallery, right? Almost like that. And yeah, no, that was pretty impressive stuff. That's pretty awesome. You gentlemen, any sort of final things you were curious about in the movie? Any not plot holes per se, but anything regarding the lore, the mythos? How do you feel that this expands the Ghostbusters franchise? Does it help it? I think it does help it to kind of stretch things out a little bit more, leave some room for interpretation, but ultimately just showing that this can be expanded, and it's not too much of a risk, or it's not too out there to follow. I think they really did a good job in really thinking everything out and you know executing on their ideas and their plans.
I think
Okay,
that
so
it did pretty
go on.
good. But I mean, for me, what I'm thinking about more so after the movie is
Yeah.
what we could do next, like a Netflix series sort of thing, kind of like what they're doing with the Mandalorian of Star Wars, and how well they did that. A big bad, but every episode, let's see the Ghostbusters bust a ghost. Can we do that? Can we see them bust ghosts? Each episode, they have to develop a new technology to beat whatever current villain in that episode they need to do. At the end, we have the big bad who's been there the whole way. I think this movie set that up. I think that they could do a 10-part series where Ernie Hudson is funding franchises of Ghostbusters.
Heck
Some
yeah.
of the group we were talking about on my podcast the other night was a little leery about doing a series. I would like to see a series but the thing that was brought up was well, who is Sony's streaming partner? And right now it's Netflix. Don't get me wrong, I love a lot of Netflix stuff, but they brought up the fact it's like, well, if it doesn't do so well, Netflix has gotten to the point it's just like, oh well, it's gone. And that might
Yeah.
be a little scary. I think, me personally, I think either working on another movie right now, or personally, I'd like to see another movie and see like the setup of the new Ghostbusters for however you want to call it, however you want to set it up. Whoever they decide is going to be in it, and then I would like to see another cartoon series. A lot of the toys that came out, the Plasma series toys, are awesome. I did not plan on collecting them, and then I just kind of fell into it, and I was just like, well, crap, now I have to have all of them. But anyway, these other ones, the Fright Feature ones that are more cartoony or whatever, they're definitely aimed more towards kids. those are a fantastic jumping off point for younger, for younger kids to get into Ghostbusters, to have those toys and stuff, and not having a movie series right now to tie, or a cartoon series to tie into that. A little bit of a loss, but I mean, we're also, with COVID, everything's got pushed back by at least a year and a half, if not 2 years or more, and so it's
Yeah.
one of those things that's like, I think the safe bet would be, my personal opinion would be, another movie and then maybe a cartoon series. But if they announced a cartoon series, like, I'm there. Whatever series,
Mhm.
whatever it's on, like, me and my boys will be there. So
Absolutely. Rob, what about you? What about you, sir?
Um, I
Movies, series,
I
what are you hoping for next?
I will take whatever they'll give me. you know, um, as a fan, and there was a little bit of a drought for a little while.
Yeesh. A little bit.
From '97 and till 2016 movie came out, and then 2016 until now, 2021. There's some long droughts going in there. So if they want to give me some filler and give me a really cool cartoon, um, pick up where maybe this left off and see where they go or whatever
Yeah.
as a cartoon version, because the kid's already growing. I mean, um, the main character of this one, they filmed it, what was she, like 10, 11, and she's 14 or whatever, 13,
she's
14 now.
15 now. When she filmed it, she was playing 12, but she was 13. She's now 15. Let's say 2 years to do another movie, she would be 17. She could
Yeah,
easily play 19 or something. So now, because one of the things that people threw out was, well, why would she end up in New York? Other than maybe Gruberson wanting to become a Ghostbuster and just kind of, he gets with Callie, they moved to New York. But if she goes to New York to go to college, why would she not fall in being, a young 19, 20-year-old Ghostbuster? Like, that would
that's
be
right.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Ernie gives her a scholarship. She goes out to New York. He obviously needs a Spangler brain to keep it
Mm-hmm.
going. It makes sense. And also on the cartoon stuff, we saw how well Star Wars did, which has even more
Oh yeah,
toxic base than Ghostbusters fandom. But the Clone Wars in those series,
Oh, yes.
as an adult, I watched those like movies. So it doesn't
yes.
only have to cater to kids. If they could treat it the way they did Clone Wars and how incredible those were, from cartoon drawings to even the animated ones, I would love that.
You know
But
what? You just sold me on that. Like, if we can get a Clone Wars style,
mhm.
oh man, Ghostbusters
but
would
they
be
have to get the
fantastic.
right person behind that. That was the thing about the Star Wars. They got, what's his name? Y'all
Dave
know his name.
Filoni.
Dave Filoni, yeah.
Yeah,
Dave
yeah.
Filoni's hit his
We
ever.
need a Star Wars Dave Filoni, and they're out there. I mean, we did a Ghostbuster Dave Filoni, and they're out there. I mean, there's a lot of people that know their stuff. I run into people all the time who will talk me to death on Ghostbusters, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And a lot of it's comic book lore or whatever too. So,
But
but
that's kind of Jason, huh? Jason's kind of our Filoni.
I was just about to say, yeah.
But he's not going to keep this going. But no one has. It's like, would it be okay? So for Filoni, he became so good to Star Wars because of his apprenticeship and relationship with George Lucas.
sure, yeah.
He would make a
Yep.
better Filoni if someone under Dan Aykroyd or someone under Ivan or Jason, right?
I agree with that. Yeah, we would need to
Yeah.
find someone like that to apprentice under them. And that was another thing that was brought up on the show was, and going back to one of my earlier comments about comparing this to the Star Wars sequel movies. Like I said, I like all three of those movies for different reasons, but the second one definitely screwed up things for where they wanted to initially go. And we definitely need to learn from that. And going back to Dave Filoni, we need someone to at least say, okay, here's the roadmap. You can play on the roadmap, but you got to stick to the roadmap.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there has to be solid direction, and there has to be cohesiveness across projects.
And I
That's
think that
where the sequel trilogy kind of falls a little bit for me.
sure.
Is that also, listen, the sequel trilogy, one of the things that you should always strive for, I think, with any franchise, is the potential. Are you reaching your potential? Are you maximizing your potential? And if you ask me, there's just a bunch of things you could point to that just say like we're not trying hard enough. Having, and I don't want this to be about Star Wars, but having Han, Leia, and Luke in a scene again, like that should have been priority one. And it doesn't matter what movie you do it in, but having those three is reaching your potential, maximizing what you can do in a Star Wars film. Like Afterlife, I know that we all have different viewpoints of it, and we've talked about other viewpoints from other critics and fans alike. I think you maximized what you could possibly do in like a first Ghostbusters film based on the situation that we have. You know, we only have three original cast members. Some are a little bit less involved in trying to do more with the franchise than others, and Ivan is not spring chicken anymore, so he's not going to want to, take the reins on anything. So I think you maximize the potential based on the situation that we currently have. I think you absolutely executed as best you could what you could do with a character like Egon Spangler, and
Yeah,
I love that part of it.
movie,
But I
the
think
only thing missing in the movie was Rick Moranis. That's the only thing that would have maximized the potential, to use your term there, would have been to
I
have
was
Rick
I was so
Man, I
Moranis.
had a
hoping he was the one
throwaway.
driving that ecto. I was so hoping he popped out of that ecto at the end. That would have been it. That'd have been it.
I
I'd have
I
been
had
like,
a
that's all I need
throwaway
right
after credit scene. I thought for sure like we were going to get a news report of some really crazy stuff going on in Oklahoma. We were going to see him sitting there going, "Oh man, did you see that?" And turn, and he's sitting next to Slimer because, of course, they would have an apartment together in New York
yeah,
City.
yeah.
But
So
what?
They absolutely are living together somewhere. Yeah.
So real
I
quick, one other quick thing that has been thrown out there, a lot of people, and apparently Jason has even hinted about, people have brought up, the second Ghostbusters movie in Vigo, and he's like, well, we have ideas, and kind of left it at that. Of course, everyone's like going crazy.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with people. What I dream of dreams, what I would love to see is this next movie, whatever we get, is all the advertisements like Vigo's returning, and it's like maybe he's Winston sending people out to collect any paintings that he might be able to come back through, anything that's got Vigo or whatever. And then literally when we get this movie, the first 10 minutes is they pull Vigo out and then like boom, trapped, gone, we'll move on to the next thing. And like, so everyone's expecting him to be the big bad, and he's literally just like a footnote, like, all right, we got him, he's not coming back, move on to something else. And then that's when a lot of people have started throwing out, well, then let's start touching on RGB stuff. Let's start talking about, do we want to see Sanheim on screen? And it's just like, yes, we do. We want to see the Boogeyman. We want to see go through their rogues gallery. Would be awesome, in a movie format. So anyway, sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
No,
I
you're
love
good.
Eugene, real quick. This is hilarious because you were talking about how you're a fan of the sequel movies in Star Wars, and your explanation of Vigo is like exactly what they did to Snoke in the second movie. They're just like, "Hey, we're setting up this whole big thing," and then they just cut him down.
Like literally, he walks out and he's talking, this big game or whatever, and literally looks down and there's a trap below him. It's just like gone. So,
I'm down with bringing back any of those characters from the animated series. I loved, one of my favorite episodes was the Doppelganger episode where you had sort of ghost versions of each of the OG team, and they were fighting with themselves almost.
yeah.
And it was terrifying. Like they didn't know what to do, and all I really need, I don't really care what the project is. If it's a movie, it's a TV series, I'm all for it. I think all I really need is for the antagonist to not be a human. It was really weird in the 2016 version having sort of a human being the one to pull all the strings. I don't even remember the cat's name, but for some reason, I don't even know why it takes me out of that part of the story. There's a lot of things I liked about it, the Enter the Call version, but I don't want to see a human face. It's got to be demonic entity. It's got to be, a Carpathian from 500 years ago, hidden in a painting. It's got to be something supernatural. I don't want there to be any sort of human element to any of this. And I hope that whatever they decide to do going forward, if it is Vigo, it they just have to do it done. They have to do it really smart. And I think Jason understands that. He understands that he doesn't have the freedom to do anything he wants. He said in an interview when making this movie, like, it's not his. He can have his name on it, but it's not his. It belongs to the fandom. They're the ones that dictate whether or not it's a good film. To him, he just kind of goes through the motions, but he says as soon as I started it, it's no longer mine. I can't claim it. It belongs to the fandom. So I think they really take the time to think things through. I'm really hoping for, and I think it's already on the way. It's another video game. Ilphonic, the makers of Predator Hunting Grounds, has already mentioned we have something in development regarding Ghostbusters. I don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know anything about it,
Hmm.
but a video game is definitely on the way. And if it's anything like the 2009, help me out, 2009
2009.
game, then I'm all for it because I love that game. If you figure out a way to make it a little bit more of a playable game, then that would make it even better. So please go out,
Open
make the
world would
game,
be great.
and we're all going to buy it up. I swear, we're all going to do that.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right,
And
gentlemen.
Rowan was his name, by the way. Yeah, I had a
Rowan.
brain fart. I had to look it up. Rowan was his name.
I would never have guessed. Bob, Bill. Yeah, no,
Well,
never
according
would.
to the internet, it's Rowan North, and I have no idea where North came from. I just remember Rowan.
Rowan,
So
yeah.
Never would have guessed it. Yeah.
So I agree with you about like having the three on there, ending it really well, and I think they did. I think Ernie Hudson as an actor, this is like his bread and butter. He's always out with the Ghostbuster stuff. I think letting him in that last scene kind of take over, and he's the one that carried this movie further. Dan Aykroyd's in it because he is a fan. Like he will sign. He's out there signing, shaking hands, kissing babies, doing like, everything he can for Ghostbusters. So letting them kind of take it and on, see what we get from it. I think that's the best way to go. My biggest question was, who is a silent partner? In the end of she says that him and he had a part. Well, I think he says he had a partner and he started this business. And
an employee. He started with one employee,
Well,
and
one
everyone's
employee,
hoping
right.
it's Tully.
Yeah, that employee. So who's the? But then also she says in the beginning he coined a fortune. So her saying he coined a fortune, does that have to allude to, you know, her coin at the end of the movie?
Hmm.
And is she the employee?
No, I don't know.
So
I think I just take it as he built something from the ground up. I don't know if there's a lot of emphasis putting on who that person is, but I just appreciate that they're giving Ernie this opportunity.
oh yeah.
And it's an opportunity to be what I'm calling the Tony Stark of the Ghostbusters universe. He has the unlimited financial support to do whatever it is they need to do. He wants to go build a training facility. He wants to go build a Ghostbusters tower in New York. He wants to go, I don't know, build a helicarrier or some sort of flying jet, Quinjet that they could use.
Like
Like,
Ecto 2.
you now, absolutely anything. You now have set up a foundation where you can let the creativity flow. And if anybody has a question on like how can they do all this, you're going to say, oh well, Winston Zeddemore is a billionaire
Yeah.
and he can do whatever he wants. You don't question when Tony Stark does it. You don't question when Bruce Wayne does it. So you're not going to question what happens after this. Anything they want to build, SWAT vehicle, Ghostbuster style, like the sky's the limit. And so it's genius. It's genius that that's where you end. You
I
end
love
with
the
letting
idea
people
of
know
Ernie
we can
Hudson
go
as
anywhere.
Lucius Fox.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there was a video that came out today. Apparently, he said he would like to be the Nick Fury of the Ghostbusters, and I'm
Sure.
just like,
Sure.
yes, absolutely, sign me up for that.
And I think
So,
I think I've had this discussion with other people. Like I mean, in the comic book lore, he has that background, military background.
Yes.
He's this. He could train another group, and in real life, he's physically fit to train another group than the other ones.
oh yeah,
So I can see it.
Somebody mentioned online somewhere that he'll start opening Ghostbuster franchises around the world, and I said, if they have a British chapter or a British franchise, the only two guys they need to see with a Ghostbuster suit on are Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Oh, that would be awesome.
yes,
Yes.
Please do it tomorrow, and
Yes.
like,
please, yes, I will sign that check.
do whatever you need. The fandom will support it financially. We'll go ahead and crowdfund the entire thing. If you
Heck
have
yeah.
those two cats in a Ghostbusters film, they did something kind of similar on Prime. They came out with a sort of a ghost investigation
It
type.
was good. I like
Yeah,
I
it.
didn't see it. What is this
it
on?
was funny. It's on Prime.
Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime, Prime Video, and I don't remember what it's called. It came out maybe earlier this year.
Yeah, I watched it this past year. I can't remember what it's called either. Off the top of my head. Oh, but the tool that we were talking about in Ghostbusters 2 that earlier, a globe globuscope. A globuscope.
Mm,
So
very cool.
that's what it's a 3D camera. Or not
Awesome.
3D camera, but a 360 camera.
Definitely, definitely. So listen, I wanted to make sure that we called out events that we are all taking a part in coming up. Rob, I'm going to start with you, man, because I know I've been seeing you putting out events and there's things coming up like really quickly. So, Rob, what are the
Yeah,
good
from be at the movies and this be at the parade, and we got some other hookups on the 11th of December in Shirts at the Evo Entertainment Center, or they're going to have Celebrity Fan Fest is bringing in Ernie Hudson, the Ghostbusters SATX, Ghostbusters ATX Austin's group, the
Yellow
Yellow
Rose?
Rose of Ghostbusters, and then the Space City Ghostbusters, which is in Houston, or Galveston, I believe, are all going to be coming down. So we got 4 groups so far. I've invited all the local Ghostbuster groups that I could find to come on down. We're going to be down from 4 to 8. There's also going to be Bob's Ecto One at the Shirts location. I've seen it a couple times. Saw it at FanFest a couple years ago, and it's a really nice Ecto. So I recommend coming to see that to get some pictures, and then also coming to see Ernie Hudson. I mean, it's a real life Ghostbuster. I mean, you'll get to see him all the time. He's going to be doing autographs, and then also, if you see the movie, he'll just going to do a question and answering after the movie on that day. So come see us for that. Also, on the 18th of December, we're going to be doing Morgan's Wonderland. There's Snowball 5K, 1K run. We're actually not going to be in it, but we'll be out there cheering on those runners. I don't see myself running with a proton pack.
You were doing it at the parade last week. I saw you running.
From I was doing a lot of running that day. I tell you. From 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. that morning, we're going to be out there cheering on all the runners. This is a great come out because not just runners are in this, but people that are maybe just walking, but a lot of people that are disabled that might be rolling in that walk or strolling going to be in it too. So we're going to be cheering everybody out for that to get to that 5K, 1K run on that day. And then later that day, We've been asked to go to a 80s retro event from 1 to 6 p.m. at Toy Hunter's Toy Store on Nacogdoches.
Cool.
Um, and come out, and they actually have a turtle van that may be there at their last event. They had a turtle van.
Oh,
They
Nice.
had another Ecto, but it's a Camaro. So we're gonna meet a new Ghostbuster fan who actually she drives a Camaro in town, and
wow.
it's all Ghostbustered up. And then there's one other vehicle, but I can't remember off the top of my head. That's probably going to be there as well. Plus, my Ecto will be there, so we'll be there from 1 to 6 at Toy Hunters on December 18th.
Fantastic. Matt, you gonna be joining Rob on any of these events, man?
I still have the rookie tag, so whatever Rob invites me to is I'll be there.
Well, Matt's always invited, so
There you go. And if we can find a way to get some like shorts, flight suit with the shorts attached to it, maybe we can run, and then that way it'll work out. I know that there's some out there somewhere.
I don't know.
Uh,
We told you
yeah, I know. I remember that.
we had that member, and he used to wear. We used to the Pride Parade, and one of the reasons because he was gay, and he always wore short shorts and a short Ghostbuster top, and he said he had a blast with a proton pack. We had a blast in our proton packs walking that. I mean, they know how to throw a party.
Awesome.
So it was a great time.
That is awesome. Eugene, what are the Ghostbusters of ATX doing?
We're actually kind of going dormant for a little bit. Some of our group members were invited out to the big event that Rob was talking about. So some of our members, I think, are heading down there for that.
Hope so.
I've actually I checked into a couple of different Christmas parades that we've done before. They had some strange rules, and we're like, oh, I think we may just kind of sit out on this one. Our next actual official booked event as of right now is in Waco, Texas. It's February 12th through the 13th. It's ATG Expo. It seems to be more so game related, but it also like apparently they're really propping up their cosplay contest and traditional con type events. It is a family friendly event. They want to make sure that that's well known. So we will be out there, hopefully in force. I'll have my Ecto out there, and we'll see how that one goes. This is the first time we've attended this one, and just kind of go from there. I'm hoping to get some more stuff lined up, as the spring unfolds. But for right now, I think the majority of our group is recouping. We've had a lot of events here recently. And if you're a Ghostbuster, like there's either constantly props to either make or mend or fix or something. So, hopefully our next outing, we'll have a few new toys to show off. So that should be interesting. So,
Absolutely. And just to kind of go back to Rob's event, that will be the Celebrity Fan Fest Film Festival that Rob's referring to. It is occurring December 9th through the 12th at three separate Evo locations. For more information, please go to celebrityfanfest.com, where you can go to their Facebook page. Again, Celebrity Fan Fest. Ernie Hudson will be signing autographs. He will be participating in photo ops with fans, and yes, there would be probably a 20 to 30-minute Q&A session that I will be lucky enough to moderate. So be great
Awesome.
to have discussion again with Ernie, because we did a 20-minute interview a few years ago before he was announced and to be in Afterlife. So it'd be great to catch up and get his thoughts after the movie was released, as opposed to everything that he was sort of being really shy about, not able to say much before. So yeah, it's going to be a great event. They're going to do 6 showings of Afterlife. So whichever one best suits you, again, go to celebrityfanfest.com to see the locations, because Texas is a big state. So you want to find the one that's most convenient. And then there's again December 9th through the 12th. If you want to meet an OG Ghostbuster in person, you're not going to have another opportunity like this. I really hope you take advantage of it. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your fellow ghost heads. It should be a fantastic time, and I can't wait. So, yeah, definitely.
And make sure
Uh,
you stay until after the credits.
After the credits, always after the credits. But I
Absolutely.
mean, jumping on that bandwagon, just Eugene, I talked to Bob from there, and he said if y'all want to come out to the Friday night event, it might be closer to the Austin group. It's in Katy, Texas. Not Katy.
Mhm.
Kyle.
Kyle. K. I
Kyle,
was
okay.
thinking of K. Kyle, Texas, and I can send you the info for that. And maybe if they want to come out to that, maybe we can come out Friday or not. I know you
Okay.
can't make it for the weekend. But remember, I mean, $50, you buy a gift card for that event while you're there, and you get a free selfie or a autograph with Ernie Hudson. I mean,
Can't beat
50
that.
bucks isn't much to.
No, you
and
can't.
and in the past, I've met Ernie, and he'll sign almost anything. So I'm helping to get my cud signed for him from him. So I'm see if he remembers it when I give it to him.
I was gonna say maybe he'll remember it when you put it in his hand. He's like, I remember this now.
Oh, that gizmo. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I remember that thing.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for joining me on this Ghost Heads Roundtable discussion. Please let everybody know who watches this video. Let them know what you got, what you're working on. Matt, I know you got the podcast that you're working on. Let people know where they can find you. Let them know where they can find your groups if they need more information, if they want to join. Please let them know. Matt, we'll start with you, sir.
Yeah, well, the podcast is in the works, and honestly, maybe this will be a nationwide search. I need a co-host. I need someone to do it with me.
Cool.
I don't want to just talk alone in a room. So
Not
if
fun.
anybody is interested, you can definitely find me on Instagram at Stay Posy, STAYPOSY, and I'll be taking anybody who wants to do it.
There you go. And your focus on the podcast, what's going to be, man?
It's going to be everything. I'm not going to focus on any particular nerddom. Probably just topical events, upcoming movies, fan theories. Staying away off the Star Wars stuff, but I'm going to kind of dip my toe in with some Ghostbusters theories.
Cool.
Absolutely. Rob, where can they find the group? And
Go to Ghostbusters SATX, San Antonio, Texas. Look us up on Facebook. Come look it up for us. We keep our stuff update pretty regularly. Come find us out if you have any questions. Email us at this on the site or PM me at the site. I did want to do a little shout out that we do a little bit of community work. Me and my wife, and it always come out, and we can't wait to see you guys. If you need some helping hands anywhere, contact us. Maybe our whole group come out and see you. We're looking at seeing about going to a children's hospital soon. Line that up with one of our members, Rudy. He's trying to figure that out. So we got a couple things in the works that we're trying to spread our wings a little more coming up. And whatever we find out, we like to share out to other groups. I mean, I think you saw today, or I posted, or maybe yesterday, that map of Texas where it shows all the different groups.
absolutely.
And that was outdated. It was from 2016. So there's a couple of those groups that are on there anymore. But there needs to be added to a bunch of them. So I'm hoping to get that updated because we got a lot of groups and a lot of strong community here in the Ghostbusters in Texas. And I'm hoping to maybe make something of not just we work really well with Austin and with Eugene, but I'd like to work well with everybody in the community and bring everybody
Absolutely.
together. I would love to see all the Ghostbusters get together at one con or something just in Texas. So
Yeah, it's not just about celebrating the fandom and the franchise, but about giving back to the community. And you guys do a great job. And lucky to have been on a couple of events with you guys, and hopefully be a lot more. Eugene, where can they find more information about the ATX Ghostbusters?
You can find us at GhostbustersATX.com. That will take you to our Facebook account. You can also find us at Ghostbusters ATX on Facebook, Instagram. I think we still have our Twitter account. We just don't really do too much with it. It's kind of a wasteland on Twitter. But yeah, that's where you can find out more information about our group. Just go to ghostbustersatx.com and it will take you where you need to go. We are always looking for new applications. I've like added 6 new members in the last month or so, and I've got a couple more people waiting in the wings. So if nothing else, this movie's done a lot to get some people interested in the fandom again, and it's never been a better time to take up this hobby. Like whether it's a spirit pack you're rocking and spirit equipment, or you want to start with that as a base, or you want to 3D print stuff, or you want to whatever it is, like the equipment is awesome, but if you're willing to show up and take pictures with people and help raise money for charities, like we want you. We want you as part of the group. So
I agree.
I have my own podcast website, epicallygeeky.com. We've got several different shows there. Our main show, the Epically Geeky Show, we actually just dropped the episode dropped today as of Monday, where we talked about Ghostbusters Afterlife. We also just talked about general geeky things. So if you're interested in that, we have a book club, the Marginally Geeky Show. We have a show about being creative, the Creatively Geeky. And then if you're into sustainability, we have a Sustainably Geeky show as well. And then if you want to follow my individual wacky adventure, you can find me at Optimus Gene on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, want to thank you guys once again for doing this roundtable discussion regarding Ghostbusters Afterlife. I know there's probably going to be more discussions about it. There's going to be more behind the scenes stuff coming out, especially when the DVD or Blu ray drops. So much more to come. Please be good to everybody out there. Enjoy this moment because I'm sure, like most of you on here, there's not been another time where the franchise or the fandom really has sort of been in a scenario where like we know good things are coming. Like we know that um, quality projects are on the horizon, and so it's just a great time to be a fan of Ghostbusters. For the Geekcast, my name is Steady. With me was Matthew, Rob, and Eugene, all ghost heads in their own regard. And we thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.